When you get back to whatever steaming underworld shithole you came from, you tell them there are still Belmonts up here.
So this build is actually pretty interesting to use. It allows you to do all of the elements that the game has at its disposal. And dual wielding whips is actually pretty fun. Now for the first whip, I kind of just went with the normal whip. This also has Royal Knight's Resolve on it. And considering I'm pretty much having all the other elements on there, I was like, you know, might as well just boost up that attack power on physical as well. They don't stack with the elements, but it was just fun to have on. For your offhand whip, you really want that Hoslow's Petal Whip. It gives you bleed as well. And then it's pretty much up to you on which of these two skills you want to put on, Raptor of the Mist or Flame of the Redmane. Both of them are pretty strong and fun to use for this build. And I gotta say that this whip pretty much matches the second weapon that he ends up getting. And once you get into New Game Plus, I would say just start dual wielding 2 of these whips. Or if you've got a really helpful friend, that'll give you one of his. Now, in order to put on any of these incantations, you're gonna have to have a seal. So I went with the Air Tree seal, and this one symbolizes the cross as much as possible. I wanted to incorporate it in some way into the build, and this is pretty much the best option. And for the staff, I went with the Demi-Human Queen Staff. The stat requirements are super low, and all I'm doing is equipping Frost and Magic onto my weapon, so I didn't need anything super special. Now for the gear, you really want that Raptor's Black Feathers. This also increases your jump attack power, and a lot of this build is going to be based on jumping attacks more or less. For the bracers, I just went with Elden Lord bracers, just thought they looked pretty good and looked pretty cool in the process. For pants, I just wanted something a bit darker and not, you know, super heavy or anything, so the Nomadic Merchant's trousers actually looked really well. Now for the talismans, that first one, I just have that Dragoncrest Greatshield on, just boosting up that physical damage negation. You're kind of trying to keep yourself in there with the whips as much as possible. And you're doing a bunch of jumping attacks, so you might end up just missing some of the boss attacks by jumping away, or if you end up getting hit, you've got that extra physical damage negation, so you don't take as much damage. Now this one's really beneficial, that Old Lord's Talisman, just extending the spell effect duration, and you don't really want to have to worry about the duration of whatever enchant that you put on it. So having that Old Lord's Talisman on there will pretty much allow you to keep it on for most of the boss fight, if not the whole boss fight. Now this one is also a must, that Claw Talisman, just enhancing your jump attacks. Like I said, you're basically just going to be doing a bunch of jump attacks, trying to mimic some of what the games were doing, and you pretty much would just do a whole bunch of jump attacks, jump attack, jump attack on anything that would come near you, especially in the older games. But the Lord of Blood's Exaltation, increasing that attack power with Blood Loss in Vicinity, and you're going to have that Blood Loss, especially if you're dual wielding both of those Hoslow whips. So it was just good to boost up the attack power. Now let's get into the incantations. I have the Golden Vow on there, and I have Flame Grant Me Strength on there, just increasing the attack power. And considering I already boosted the Faith up, it was kind of a no-brainer to put then both of these on as well. Plus, Golden Vow is going to give you more defense, and Flame Grant Me Strength is also going to increase the Fire Affinity attack power if you have that equipped on your weapon. Well, I guess we should probably get into some of these enchants then, right? Well, the first one up is the Order's Blade. This one is just for your holy damage. The second one is Vike's Dragon Bolt, and this just gives you some red lightning and red lightning around your body. Looks pretty cool. I like it. Then you got that Bloodflame Blade, and this is going to be mostly your fire attack. So if you've got this going with Flame Grant Me Strength, you're just doing that much more damage. Same with the next one, the Black Flame Blade. This also goes with Flame Grant Me Strength pretty well. Although this one does not last very long on your whip, just a few seconds, but you can get a bunch of attacks in, and then you've got a really good dot on the boss or enemy that just takes a bunch of this flame damage. Now this one's pretty situational, just kind of put it on there for the Poison Armament. You know, why not just put the poison on there? Just put every single incantation we can. And this is kind of the same with the Electrify one. Unless they're wearing armor, you're probably not going to use this very often. Same with these other ones, you know, you got the magic, although this is very situational and you're more than likely not going to use these, but I put them on there just for the purposes anyways. Considering this last one, the Frozen Armament, this is actually one of his abilities is to be able to actually produce frost on his weapons, so had to kind of put that in there. Now onto the crystal tiers, I just went with a Faith Crystal tier and a Dexterity Crystal tier, just kind of boosting up my damage that much more. That's all. They last for 3 minutes and it's just good for a fight. If you like and you know exactly what kind of elements you're going to be using, You can even switch out to using some of these other ones that are going to boost that element. And for the Great Rune, I just went with Godric's, just giving me +5 into every stat. It's just beneficial to have. If you want, you could even add Margot's on there, or one of the others. It's not that big of a deal on which Great Rune you use for this build. Also, before I forget, there's also some consumables. I also threw on the Holy Water pot, as well as the Sacred Order pot. This would just be the Holy Water attack that he would do in the games, that's all. And then I also threw on Throwing Daggers, because he can also do that. So these are just there for the funsies. Now these stats can look a little weird at first glance, but don't worry, they'll make a little sense. For Vigor, I just have it 50, giving me a bunch of health to be able to stay in there, you know, maybe take a couple of hits before I need to really back out and heal. But I can get a bunch of jumping attacks in and do a ton of damage before really needing to care. Mind, I have it 20, and this just allows me to give me all of the buffs that I need, as well as just whatever enchant that I need on my weapon. And if I need to, I can even just put another one on there later in the fight, or just keep the Flame Grant Me Strength going. Endurance, I just have it 14. This is just some extra to be able to give myself some more stamina and a little bit of equip load, just to be able to handle all the weapons. Dexterity is basically to utilize the damage of your weapon specifically. You're not going to be relying necessarily the whole time on enchants and the faith, so just to have that dexterity up there the most is really beneficial. Intelligence is just there to be able to use the frozen armament and the magic armament. That's all they're really there for. And then faith is at 40. You're not going to get much incant scaling above 45, so putting it up around this is just the most beneficial, and I needed 40 in order to use the seal. And then for strength and arcane, just didn't touch. Now, as I was saying earlier, I was trying to find a way to be able to kind of mimic the gameplay and style of some of the old games by having him do a bunch of jumping attacks. Just constantly jump, attack, jump, attack. So that's pretty much all you're really going to do. You're going to jump, and then you're going to hit L1, especially when you're dual wielding these whips. That's going to be your strongest attack on the jump attack. Don't do the R2, don't do the R1. You want to be able to use both of those whips, and you're only going to be able to do that with the L1. That's basically going to be your combo as well. You're going to be doing L1, L1, L1. A lot of times you might not necessarily know exactly what you're fighting, so you'll be going into a fight and then trying to put on the enchant. So be warned on trying to do that. If you know exactly what boss is there, then you can put it on a bit earlier. And that way, you know, you might not end up taking a hit while walking through the door. Also, to be warned, don't try to use Royal Knight's Resolve and an enchant at the same time. They're going to cancel each other out. They are both buffs to the weapon, so it's to use one or the other. And that's why I have that Raptor of the Mist on there as well, just because then you don't have to really worry about that, and you can focus on then dodging with Raptor of the Mist and just hitting them with another jump attack. And that's what you want to focus on for the most part, is those jump attacks. So if you can negate damage with Raptor of the Mist and get up there and do a jumping attack, hey. And with that, I hope you really like this Trevor Belmont build. I know I did. And let me know in the comments below what other characters I should do, and I'll do my best to make them viable.
Hmm?